You're welcome back from that break. And now to my third guest in the studio. We'll be looking at, the Nigerian cocoa. It's something that has gone, we don't even talk about it. We know we have cocoa, but, the plantation is not there. So how do we now revive cocoa back into business? And to do justice to this, topic is Engineer Abayomi Onasanya. He is the Global Director of African House. And you know how he does it. You're welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, sir, cocoa. I grew up knowing that we have cocoa, but I can say we still do have cocoa. So, tell us about the Nigerian cocoa.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, we still do have cocoa. And like you rightly said, Nigeria used to be one of the leaders, or shall I say leading countries when it comes to cocoa production. But unfortunately, we've slipped down the table, and the industry needs a new lease of life. So that we can take our position on the global economy. Not only that, in order to meet the new realities that we face in terms of economics, because cocoa is able to generate a lot of foreign income for Nigeria, as it were. And we just need to revive the industry in order for us to create jobs and then make money as a nation.
Okay. So I can see you brought a sample of it.
That's true. Yes, this is cocoa powder.
Okay.
This is cocoa powder, and we'll talk about the new value chain, because the reality is we've been made to believe, historically, that Nigeria can produce cocoa and we can only export the beans. You see, and funny as it is, all those nations where we export our raw cocoa beans to, what they do is they process it. Okay. And then they add value to it, obviously, and then they generate much more from the cocoa, and creating jobs along the line, and then creating diverse industries along the value chain. So this is what we need to do as Nigerians in order to meet the realities, and funny enough, we import chocolate products. And anytime I go to the stores, I get angry in a way, like, oh, look at this. I don't want to mention brands now, I love cocoa products. You see, it's like, and then you look at the back of it, it's written made in so and so, made in so and so. And I was like, we
can still produce it here.
Why can't we do this? But we've not been told, we've not been told, or we've not been taught that these things are doable in Nigeria. You see, most of our beverages, again, I don't want to mention brands now. Our children drink them every day, like, chocolate drinks and chocolate infused cakes, confectionaries and whatnot. And this is exactly what those foreign nations do with our cocoa. And in order for us to meet the challenges that I mentioned earlier on, we need to start looking at the processing aspect of cocoa, because for us to be exporting the raw cocoa, we're no longer competitive. We're no longer competitive because nations like Ivory Coast, Ghana, even Ecuador, they've overtaken Nigeria in the raw cocoa beans export. And some of our farmlands have disappeared totally. We used to have 1.4 million hectares of cocoa plantation, but now that value has dwindled to, to I don't know what now, but we need to, re-strategize the entire value chain.
Okay, so as you mentioned that we need to bring it back. So what's the current, situation? Do we even have it, the production? Do we still produce at all?
Well, we have very few companies who do process cocoa, and unfortunately most of them are either foreign owned or foreign controlled, you see. And what they do in the end is they process the cocoa into powder and cocoa butter and some other products, and then they export it back to their own subsidiary over there, you see, where they now again add value and then export it to the European Union. I'll use Netherlands as an example. Netherlands is the largest exporter of cocoa for finished products in the world. They control 43% of the total global cocoa products market, but they don't even have a single cocoa tree in Netherlands. You see, they buy from Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, and whatnot, and then they process it, and then they export, and then they make billions and billions and billions. Wow. But in Nigeria, we have very few companies doing it. But we've come here this morning to tell Nigerians that this is possible, this is doable. This is an example of what we're saying here. This is pure Nigerian cocoa powder, you see. So you can do this and you can export this, and we can make a fortune out of this.
Okay, okay. And then the key export market in Nigeria. Okay, who are the key export markets that we have, in taking this Nigerian cocoa?
Well, interesting. You see, Nigeria, we focused too much on certain markets for the last 5 decades, and we've talked about America, Europe, and whatnot. Okay. But there has to be a paradigm shift in the way we think. We need to be creative in what we do. For example, this cocoa powder sitting in front of us here, you can find very, very lucrative markets in the Middle East. Okay. Like Iran, Turkey, even Lebanon, UAE, and even Saudi Arabia. Yeah. You see, because whether you like it or not, every country has confectionaries. Every corner you find confectionaries making cakes, cookies, and whatnot. And then you have companies making toffees, malt drinks infused with cocoa, and different cocoa infused products. So we need to re-strategize our target market to focus on new markets, new and emerging markets. For example, in Iran, if you go to every office, any office, private or public, you will always find a bowl of chocolate in front of the guys on his desk. And we put sugar here in tea. They don't put sugar. What they do is they put the chocolate in their mouth and then they sip the tea without sugar. So the tea melts the chocolate in their mouth and creates that fusion in their mouth. And it's everywhere. So why are we not tapping into this market? So we need to start going to those places and exporting to those nations as it is. Okay. Yes. Ghana is doing well at that, and some other nations in Africa. But for us, we can target the middle level markets. That means the end users, like the confectionaries, the small scale chocolate producers in Europe, in the Middle East, and what have you. And we can make a fortune out of this. We estimated that you can make about 50 billion from cocoa products if we process it. And the technology, to answer your question, is easy. This was processed by Africa House. In fact, we built this machine for one of our mentees, here in Abuja. Wow. So these machines are easy to build, and they are readily available even here in Abuja. So that it's not expensive, you see. So an average Nigerian can do this. It is possible.
And then it can, bring about job opportunities to our youths out there.
Exactly. Wow. Jobs. Because you think about it, when this raw cocoa goes to Netherlands, they employ labor to process. That's jobs, that's taxes, that's good infrastructure. So we can do the same. Why export raw when we can process and create several thousands of jobs in the process? And even for SMEs or for the youths, this is something they can do. You can create your own creative milk chocolate drink, that the beverage that you drink in the morning. You can do that as well from this. This is made, I'll tell you the history of this. This bean is from Ondo State, processed in Abuja, and of course ends in my tummy. You see, so this can be done as well.
Yeah, we can do it. Wow, I'm amazed, especially with, talking about the white chocolate comes out of this.
Delicious. It is delicious, that I can tell you.
And I'm sure Nigerians, we don't know that. Seriously, we thought it comes from, the US, everywhere, but then we have it here at home. Have it. We can do this.
That's absolutely true.
Wow.
Absolutely true.
Wow.
So I challenge Nigerians, please, let's try white chocolate. It is delicious.
Well, before I let you go, Engineer, I think a little word of advice on how you've said so much, but then we can still tell them we can do this, on how to bring back the cocoa business in Nigeria.
On the final note, what I would say is that let us look beyond exporting cocoa as a raw material. Let us look into the processing industry, because that's where the real money is. And of course, let us please patronize Nigerian-made cocoa and cocoa products, because if we patronize them, we're not only creating jobs locally, we're assisting the industry, we're giving a boost to them. So please, let's look into processing of cocoa in order to grow our nation.
Thank you so much, Engineer Bayomi,
for having
being on the program. As always.
Thank you.
We get the knowledge, and I hope we'll use it.
Thank you.
Well, we'll be discussing cocoa and then how we can, bring back the cocoa business into the country. We can process it here in Nigeria. We don't have to go out and buy or, you know, bring it from other places. We have it here. We can do it. And then we can create business to our youths. We can create job opportunities to everybody. We can do it. Let's do it. We're going to short break.